This is a study of Isaiah chapters 36 and 37. The chapter we just finished was a view into the beauty and the perfection that will be in the millennium when Jesus sets his foot on Mount Zion and when God sets up his temple. Now, 36, we see that the king of Assyria has captured the 10 northern tribes and he has moved his way down toward Jerusalem, and he is right at the gate. And we will see that God has used the king of Assyria as a correcting rod, and God will only let Sennacherib and his agent Rabshakeh go so far. If they overstep their bounds, then we are going to see a turnaround. Hezekiah was the king of Judah. His name means might of Yahweh. This was in 628 BC, this occurrence, and it is historical. I would remind you that we have types in the Bible, and the king of Assyria, Sennacherib, is a type for Satan. In fact, he bears one of Satan's names, the Assyrian. Isaiah chapter 36, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the 14th year of King Hezekiah that Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, came up all the defense cities of Judah and took them. He's taken all the fenced cities and he's right outside Jerusalem. 2. And the king of Assyria sent Rabshakeh from Lachish to Jerusalem unto King Hezekiah with a great army, and he stood by the conduit of the upper pool in the highway of the fuller's field. So Rabshakeh is there, and he is standing ready. 3. Then came forth unto him Eliakim, Hilkiah's son, which was over the house, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah, Asaph's son, the recorder. Now, these are, Eliakim means raised by Yah, and Hilkiah, God's fortress, and Shebna means bigger. Now, Hezekiah has sent out some personages here to have a powwow with Rabshakeh. 4. And Rabshakeh said unto them, Say ye now to Hezekiah, Thus saith the king of Assyria, What confidence is this wherein thou trustest? In other words, where have you put your trust? And he knows, and spiritually, they have not trusted in God, and they had relied on Egypt, and Egypt didn't come to help, and they never consulted God. 5. And I say, sayest thou? But they are not but vain words. I have counsel and strength for war. Now on whom dost thou trust that thou dost rebellest against me? Well, where is your strength? And where is your army? 6. Lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed, on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust him. They went to Egypt, and he was like leaning on a reed. The most that could happen was that they got their hand pierced, and the reed was of no use. 7. Rabshakeh speaking. But if thou say to me, We trust in the Lord our God, It is not he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away, and said unto Judah and to Jerusalem, You shall worship before this altar? He knows Hezekiah had taken down the very altar of God and had filled the place with idols, and they were engaging in idol worship. 8. Now therefore give pledges, I pray thee, to my master the king of Assyria, and I will give thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them. He's making fun of them. He's saying, well, give me some scratch, and I will give you some horses if you have any riders. Well, think about, we call a horse, a person riding a horse, an arm. In the Army, that's cavalry today. We don't use horses, we use tanks. But a person doesn't know how to ride a horse. How can you put that person on a horse if he's an untrained cavalryman and expect him to fight? And that's exactly what Rabshakeh means. He is laughing. Well, even if I gave you 2,000 horses, you don't have any riders. And they didn't. 9. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and horsemen? He said, how are you going to turn away just one little old company being led by one little old captain when I don't see any chariots or any horsemen that have come up from Egypt? 10. And am I now come up without the Lord against this land to destroy it? And the Lord said unto me, Go up against this land and destroy it. And we were told in the 10th chapter, verses 5 through 8, that God had said to the Assyrians, Go up. He is using them as a rod of correction. Watch Rabshakeh and what he says. 11. Then said Eliakim and Shebna and Joah and unto Rabshakeh, Speak, I pray thee, unto thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and speak not to us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall. Well, they didn't want the people on the wall to hear how Rabshakeh is rattling them and making fun. Notice Rabshakeh knew their language, and they knew Syriac, and they're saying, oh, please now don't speak out here in the language of the people, that they can hear what you say. 12. But Rabshakeh said, Hath my master sent me to thy master and to thee to speak these words? Hath he not sent me to the men that sit upon the wall, that they may eat of their own dung and drink of their own urine with you? He is really getting to them now. 13. Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language and said, Hear ye the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. And this is what it will be like. This was then in back in 628 BC. And when the other king of Assyria comes, he will shout out in the same way. They will not shut him down. 14. Thus saith the king, Let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you. He can't deliver you. 15. Neither let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, The Lord will surely deliver us. This city shall not be delivered unto the land of the king of Assyria. Boy, he is really stepping up at this point. He is saying, don't let Hezekiah tell you to trust in the Lord, because it'll not be delivered. 16, hearken not, Rabshakeh still speaking, to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by present, and come out to me, and eat ye every one of the vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one of the waters of his own cistern. Boy, does he have the promises. He says, make an agreement with me. And this is Satan's modus operandi. He will say, come and worship, and I will give you everything you need. Except, like Rabshakeh, all the promises are in the physical and the flesh, not in the spiritual. Satan has no spiritual gifts. He will promise plenty to eat. He will promise the payment of debt. He will promise all the things that would satisfy the physical self. 17. Until I come and take you away to a land like your own, a land of corn and wine, and a land of bread and vineyards. Oh, he is full of promises, and so will the Antichrist be. He'll say, oh, come and I'll fly you away. I will take you to a wonderful place. But it isn't true. 18, beware lest Hezekiah persuade you, saying, notice twice, the Lord will deliver us. Hath any of the gods of the nation delivered his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? No, he's taken all of these cities, and he's outside Jerusalem now, and he said, where was God? He is really getting insulting here. 19, where are the gods of Hamath and Arphad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim? And have they delivered Samaria out of my hand? He's already hauled off the 10 tribes, and he has taken these others. And I would point out to you that Hamath is the place of the descendants of Cain. And he's taken them, and God didn't help them, he said. 20. Who are they among all the gods of these lands that have delivered their land out of my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? You think the Lord's going to help you and that I won't get Jerusalem? He's really getting blasphemous here. He is getting mighty big for his riches. 21. But they held their peace and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was, saying, answer him not. Well, they smartened up a little bit. At least they held their tongues, and sometimes that is a good plan. Verse 22 to complete this chapter 36. 22, then came Elikam, the son of Hilkiah, that was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah, the son of Asaph, the recorder, to Hezekiah with their clothes rent, and told him the words of Rabshakeh. They've rent their clothes in a sign of mourning, and gone to tell Hezekiah that he's already said that God won't help us. Let us now go to chapter 37. 1. And it came to pass, when King Hezekiah heard it, that he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. Bingo, he is finally doing something right. He went into the house of the Lord. 2. And he sent Elikam who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests covered with sackcloth unto Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos. So they're going back to Isaiah. Remember, several chapters back, Isaiah spoke to them the very words of God, and they laughed at him. They laughed at the face, right in the face, and the words of the Most High God. Well, now they're going to see what Isaiah has to say. He already gave them a prophecy, and they didn't listen. 3. And they said unto him, Thus saith Hezekiah, the day is a day of trouble, and of rebuke, and of blasphemy, for the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. And I wish to point out that use of the word birth at the end of the reign of the other king of Assyria. There will be the birth of a new age, and we covered that age, in chapter 35, when we saw the beauty of the restored earth. 4. It may be the Lord thy God will hear the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria his master has sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard. Wherefore lift up thy prayer for the remnant that is left. They have run like all of us do when we get into real deep hot water. We finally turn and run to God and scream for help. 5. So the servants of King Hezekiah came to Isaiah. 6. And Isaiah said to them, Thus shall ye say unto your master, Thus saith the Lord, Be not afraid of the words that thou hast heard, wherewith the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. He's saying, go tell them they don't have anything to fear out of Rabshakeh. Rabshakeh has committed blasphemy. 7. Behold, I will send a blast upon him, and this is God talking now, and he shall hear a rumor, and return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. Now, if those of you who are hearing know your history, you know full well that the king of Assyria did not take Judah. He took Samaria and the 10 northern tribes, and he took some walled cities, and he went down to Jerusalem, and he was unsuccessful. And if we know our history, we know that Jerusalem and the house of Judah stood 200 more years, and it was Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon who took them captive, not the Assyrian. 8. So Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. So when he got back, he found out that there was a huge war going on. 9. And he heard say concerning Taharka, the king of Ethiopia, he is come forth to make war with thee. And when he heard it, he sent messengers to Hezekiah, saying, okay, now he's hearing this rumor that God say he would hear. Now, God is not going to stand for the overstepping here that Rabshakeh has done. He has blasphemed, and he's flexed his muscles, and he has said, you can't trust in God. And he's going to be shown. This is really getting blasphemous now. Verse 10. Thus shall ye speak to Hezekiah king of Judah, saying, Let not thy God in whom thou trustest deceive thee, saying, Jerusalem shall not be given unto the hand of the king of Assyria. He's saying your own God is going to deceive you. Uh-oh. Oh, watch out, Rob Shaka. 11. Behold, thou hast heard what the kings of Assyria have done to all lands by destroying them utterly, and shall thou be delivered? Won't do you any good to even pray, he's telling them. 12. Have the gods of the nations delivered them which my fathers have destroyed by Gozan and Haran and Rezeph and the children of Eden which were in Telassar? Didn't help them. 13. Where is the king of Hamath and the king of Arphad and the king of the city of Sepharvaim? Hena and Abba are gone. We took them. 14. And Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it, and Hezekiah went up into the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. Oh, he is finally doing the wrong thing. He's put these letters out in front of God. 16. O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, that dwellest between the cherubim, thou art the God. Even thou alone of all the kingdoms of the earth, thou hast made heaven and earth. We're seeing Hezekiah turn in a way that he had not. He had trusted in idols and he had trusted in Egypt. 17. Incline thy ear, O Lord, and hear up on thine eyes, O Lord, and see, and hear all the words of Sennacherib, which hath sent to reproach the living God. 18. He's still praying. Of a truth, Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste all the nations and their countries. 19. And have cast their gods into the fire, for they were no gods, but the work of man's hands, wood and stone, and therefore they have destroyed them. Well, why had he allowed idols? And that's what he had done. 20. Now therefore, O Lord our God, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Lord, even thou only. Hezekiah is finally praying the right kind of prayer. He's not saying, oh, deliver us because we need delivering. Oh, just help us, help us, help us. He said, do it so they will know that you are not made out of a piece of stone and clay, that you are God. Lesson here: when families and persons and nations turn back to God, he will stretch forth his hand. 21. Then Isaiah the son of Amoz sent unto Hezekiah, saying, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, whereas thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib the king of Assyria. 22. This is the word which the Lord has spoken concerning him. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, hath despised thee, and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem hath shaken her head at thee. 23. Whom hast thou reproached and blasphemed? And against whom hast thou exalted? This is God speaking through Isaiah. Whom hast thou exalted thy voice, and lifted up thine eyes on high, even against the Holy One of Israel. He is asking, how would he dare? 24. By thy servants hast thou reproached the Lord, and have said, by the multitude of my chariots am I come unto the height of the mountains, even to the sides of Lebanon, and I will cut down the tall cedars thereof, and all the choice fir trees thereof, and I will enter into the height of his border, and the forest of his Carmel. That's the paradise. And that is what Sennacherib had bragged. 25, God speaking, I have digged and drunk water, and with the sole of my feet have I dried up all the rivers of the besieged places. 26, hast thou not heard long ago how I have done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now have I brought it to pass that thou shouldest be to lay waste defenced cities into ruinous heaps. You are going to destroy my creation. This is, he has heard the insult. 27. Therefore their inhabitants were of small power. They were dismayed and confounded, and they were as at the grass of the field, and as the green herb, and as the grass on the housetops, and as the corn blasted before it be grown up. Big hot wind that can ruin everything. And the point in these verses, God can do exactly as he wishes. And this battle here against this king of Assyria will be like those last two battles that are fought in the end, Hamon-Gog and Armageddon. And it is not men who win those battles, it is the armies of God himself. 29, but I know thy abode, and thy going out, and thy coming in, and thy rage against me. 29, because thy rage against me and thy tumult is come to mine ears, therefore I will put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. He is going to get turned around. I'll refer you to Ezekiel chapter 38 with the hook in the nose and the bridle in the mouth. You have a hook in your nose. But one would not back up from it. You'd tend to follow along with that hook. 30. And this shall be a sign unto thee. You shall eat this year such as groweth of itself, and the second year that which springeth of the same, and in the third year sow ye and reap and plant vineyards and eat the fruit thereof. And that's 3.5 years, and that's the first promise of the return of the Antichrist. 31, and the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. And Judah's going to be just fine, because Rabshakeh has overstepped his bounds, and Hezekiah has had enough sense to go to the Lord. 32. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant, and they that escape out of the Mount Zion, and the zeal of the Lord of hosts shall do this. God promised there will always be a remnant. Even in the time of the rule of the Antichrist, when the whole world is going after him, there will be a remnant of those who know better. 33. Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a blank against it. He'll not have it. 35, the Lord speaking, For I will defend this city to save it for mine own sake and for my servant David. And remember that David is the ancestor of the Messiah. Now, look what happens. 36. Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. Went to sleep that night in their camp, woke up the next morning, and 185,000 of them were lying dead. 37. So Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh. Nineveh was their capital, and remember, Jonah did not want to go to Nineveh. He jumped off a ship, tried his best to avoid to go because he was sent there. He was sent to Nineveh to persuade them to turn to God. And he knew that the prophecy and what they were going to do, and he didn't wish to help them. God had to force his hand. 38. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroches, that's some pagan god, his god, that Adramelech and Sharezer, his son, smote him with the sword. His very own children came in and killed him. And they escaped into the land of Armenia, and Esarhaddon Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead. So we see that Sennacherib and Rabshakeh, with all their bragging, even though God in the 10th chapter had said that they could go up against Judah, they were unsuccessful for two reasons. They blasphemed the Most High God and even declared that he could not save Judah. And the most important part is that Hezekiah turned to God and he asks that they be saved for the very correct reason that Rabshakeh and all those present would know that you are God. This video has been an outreach of the United Methodist Church in Essex, Missouri.